John, how you doing?
Very well, thanks.
Thanks for your time.
Pleasure.
Really helpful and interesting to find out a bit more about your business, the Richard Onslow here. Perhaps start by saying how you got involved in the Richard Onslow.
I co-own the Richard Onslow with a small group called Peach Pubs.
Okay.
I had relatives locally and I was looking for a pub. This one came up. It's a beautiful pub in a fantastic village. It'd been unloved for quite a long period. And together with Peach Pubs, we managed to get the money and the investment together to really turn it into something that we think's very good.
Oh, fantastic. We'll be able to find out a bit more about that later. But you've got quite an interesting background. Richard Branson, I think, in John's Road.
Yeah, I used to work on Necker Island, which was my first job out of university. That's really where I started in hospitality, which was very lucky and a fantastic experience. On coming back to London, I did a stint in one of John Torrode's restaurants, which was also a really great learning experience.
Fantastic. So it was a difficult decision to leave Necker Island, I guess. Have you still got him on your Christmas card list?
Kind of.
Leave that door open.
Exactly.
So tell me a bit more about the Richard Onslow and your ethos and what you're trying to achieve here.
We're trying to be a really, really great local pub, cross-generational. So if you want to come in for an 18th birthday or for a 90th birthday, for dinner or for a drink, we do coffees and cakes, and really it's in people's mind a community pub is often a local pub with, say, the darts team and what have you. I think that we are a community pub in the true essence of the word, in that people are coming in here business networking at 7 a.m. in the morning. We get the old ladies in for coffee at 9 a.m. We get ladies who lunch and business people in at lunch, and then in the afternoon the builders coming in when they finish work, walkers with their dogs for a pint, and in the evening we get some people celebrating special occasions or just popping in for a beer or a glass of wine.
So you're always busy.
Exactly, and then we've got the 10 bedrooms as well, which is great for the business. It's a really, really crucial part of our business now. But also I think it provides some interest for local people coming in. There's always different people passing through from different parts of the world, different parts of the country.
Fantastic. And the rooms are a recent addition. Was that always part of the plan to have accommodation as well?
It was, yeah. It was. Historically, the Onslow Arms has been a pub with rooms. However, I don't think they've been operational for 30, 40 years. So we've really brought that back to the building, and it works very well. It was always part of the plan. There's not a huge amount of accommodation locally, and we found that people are looking to stay in or prefer to stay in places like this rather than going to perhaps a big generic lodges.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've done very well, I see, getting your name out in some of the well-established, perceived trade publications, the Alistair Sawday, isn't it, and the Michelin Guide. How do you have to go about getting into those? Is that hard work?
It can be. There's two sides to it, really. One of which is that there's always a sort of word of mouth, which is great, but then we try and accelerate that by good PR. So we've had someone who's been calling, phoning, all that side of things, but also that's no good unless you're consistently delivering what you say you're trying to deliver.
And the Michelin people, especially, do they come in unannounced and
they
tell you they've been in and what they thought of it?
They do. It's quite funny. It's sort of when they're checking out, they produce a card, and it's all quite it's quite funny. That's quite different. But they are generally, they're different. They're word of mouth. They will just come when they've heard or read about you. They are not necessarily susceptible to advances from PR people.
No, I bet they're not. And tell me a bit more about how you market the Richard Onslow here, because it has become an important part of the community.
Yeah. Well, we all sorts of different ways, from really modern ways like e-marketing, social media, Facebook, Twitter, all that kind of thing. We also use the Net Promoter Score, which is a way of measuring word of mouth, and we try and use that to generate good word of mouth. And if we find if we haven't done what we said we're going to do, then we try and phone people up and say, look, we're you haven't had the greatest experience, come back, and we try and turn that around. So we use the Net Promoter Score. We use conventional methods like A-boards, flyers. We use a bit of local press, and again trying to get into any sort of national or local magazines we can with reviews. That kind of thing.
Okay, just a bit more on that Net Promoter Score. It's not something I'm particularly aware of. How do you run that? How does that work?
When people leave, we give out a card, and it has a question on it called the ultimate question, and it says, how likely would you be to recommend us to friends or family? A certain academic worked out that was the best question you could ask people on a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
And so if they leave a 10, that means they're going out and saying good things about you. If they leave a 7 or 8, they're probably impassive. If it's a 6 or below, then they didn't really enjoy themselves and they're saying bad things about you. So it's about thanking the people that say you're great. Yeah. And anyone below that, you try and say, what can we do better? What was the problem? And how can we, make it better for you?
Well, I'm sure it's all 7 pluses anyway.
Most of the time, I think.
Fantastic. And tell me a bit about doing business in Cranleigh. How do you find Cranleigh as a business community and a place to run a pub?
It's fantastic, really. I'm very comfortable with the size of the village. Is about 12,000 people, so it means that you can market on the basis of your character and knowing people and networking with people you're likely to see again on a regular basis. So in that sense, it's a good place to do business. There's also quite a lot of small individual sort of offices on farms and in the countryside where people work and maybe don't have lots of people they work with and they want to come out and have lunch and meet up with people. There's also lots of people that don't work. Lots of the older generation, lots of people that might have partners that work up in town or in Guildford. So there's quite a large pool of potential guests out there. It's just a case of making sure that we're in the sort of front of their mind when they're looking for somewhere to come out and meet people.
Fantastic. And anything you'd change about doing business in Cranleigh?
I'm sorry?
Anything you'd change about doing business in Cranleigh?
No.
Fantastic.
Not really. There's all the specific issues that come up in Chamber of Commerce meetings and in the local papers, parking and that sort of thing. But generally speaking, no, I think it's a good place to do business. I think it's got a lot going for it in that it's a very pretty place. It's pretty affluent. It's got a nice cross section of people here. That it's not a dormitory town. The high street, although it has suffered, I think has got real potential, and that there are new businesses that are coming in. There's some shops closed, but that's the same as every high street in the company, and we're sort of 5 years in or coming out of a recession. So in the big scheme of things, there's nothing massive I would change.
That's good, and a good endorsement for Cranleigh as a place to do business. Tell me a bit more about your plans for the pub. What big changes might we see in a year or 3, 5 years?
My big plans with the pub tend to be on quite a small scale. My goal is just to deliver consistency all of the time. And when you're open from 7 a.m. until midnight every day of the year, pretty much, that's more of a challenge than some people might think. So it's just to develop my team, I guess, to get some really strong managers, or to develop the managers I've got. To provide some careers for younger people that might have come out of school or university that haven't necessarily decided what they want to do, but whether they stay in hospitality or not, hopefully give them a really good grounding in the workplace, and just to be a consistently good place to come for people that live in and around Cranleigh, and hopefully exceed their expectations.
Well, I'm sure it happened. And you referred at the beginning to the fact you're a local boy, I think, so have you got a lot of pride in the area? And
I'm not, but I do have family locally.
Sorry, okay.
I do have family locally, but I do. I've been. My children are at school not far away. I've moved to the area 5 years ago, so I have got. I'm certainly quite proud of the area. I'm really pleased to be here.
And if you could give one tip to anyone who's either looking to set up a business in Cranleigh, or perhaps they're looking at this video further afield and they're thinking about starting in the pub game, is there only one tip or a couple of tips you might give them?
Yes, I think that if you're thinking of setting up business anywhere, it's a bit like moving house somewhere. Make sure you go and walk the streets, have a look around, talk to some people. The obvious people to talk to in an area, the estate agents and people who have offices and who do business already in a place. Talk to some people that live locally, perhaps have a family locally in different trades, and you tend to get some extreme opinions. But usually you can find a sort of middle ground from the opinions you get, you can work out a middle ground of where the truth lies.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if you're experienced in your business, you can then make a judgment call on that as to whether, it's a place for you. But I'd certainly recommend it. I mean, it's really got a huge amount going for it.
Fantastic. And perhaps a final thought and an opportunity for you to emphasise why people come to the Richard Onslow. What would you tell people who are listening for the first time and don't really know about the Richard Onslow, if there are anyone in the local area, why should they come and enjoy a morning, lunch, evening here?
A genuinely heartfelt, warm welcome. I mean, we try really hard with the team we get on board that they're people that before they arrive genuinely want to look after people. So that it's a great provenance in all the drinks and all the food that we offer, and a pleasant environment to sit and pass the time.
Thank you. Well, I can certainly endorse that as someone who's had a number of lunches and dinners here. It's a fantastic place. The service is always great. Perhaps if we just finish off, you want to give your name and the company to the camera as it all
Sure.
finish?
My name's John Taylor. I run the Richard Onslow pub in Cranleigh that I co-own with Peach Pubs. That's me.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.